Tonight on the Black Channel. Believe me, I didn't want to be talking about this, but there are layers to this onion, so I suppose we should start peeling. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, and let me tell y'all, this was not at all what I wanted to be discussing or talking about, but before it gets too damn far along, because I sure don't want to drag out this any longer than it has to, or have to breathe life into it at a later date. The emasculation continues, and before you can even get off the ground good, they got you in their scopes. It's true. I guess it's just true what they say about what you got to do to get on in Hollywood. But then you take a look at who's back in the play. The dead black media. The dead black media. If anybody wants to know, encapsulated in basically one cover, one article, one photograph, what happened to them, this is what happened to them. If you want to know why it is that they sank and descended into the grave of obscurity and irrelevance, this is what occurred. This is how it happened. Now, there's been much ado made about Jonathan Majors, and we would like to say he's an up-and-coming star in Hollywood, although we'll see how that goes. But he's been making some noise. Disney and signed him up for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to play Kang. So he's been, bandied about all over the place. And good for him. Good for him. Absolutely no problem. But along comes Ebony. And Ebony magazine decides, let moisture reign. And so they grab Jonathan and say, I guess they figure, well, forget about Black history. This is in time for Valentine's Day. So away they go. Away they go. In the chat room, Set the Mud, you might feel differently when we get done with this program tonight. So you better hold on to your G-strings, because you may feel differently by the time this program is over tonight. So don't be too hasty. But in any case, there's been much ballyhoo made about this cover. Obviously, their point and their goal was to get attention. They damn sure did. Much ado was made about it, but what folk don't realize is that this was this cover everybody was seeing. But no, this was part of a cover shoot. It was part of a cover shoot. So, oh no, it wasn't just one photograph. It wasn't just a couple of photographs. It really, really wasn't. It wasn't just a couple of photographs. I mean, they spent the day. They spent the day with him. For those of you who didn't know it and didn't see it, they spent the day with him. They were just like, hey, we brought a whole moist wardrobe for you. We brought the whole wardrobe for you. First of all, no shade. I'm taking a look. I'm taking a look at, first of all, they got him in this pink skin tight suit. First of all, I'm looking at these shoes. Who was his fashion designer? Kanye West or Wakanda? What's the deal with these shoes? I'm trying to understand. Which part of the wardrobe is this? Who got that together? Who was in charge of the dress code? Oh, I'm sorry. We gonna get to that, ain't we? We're gonna get to that because be very, very clear on this. This was an ensemble production that put this together. This was an ensemble production that put this together. So they're out there doing the most. They got Jonathan sitting up here. I mean, they could have done this any old kind of way, but they decided to do this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This does not scream masculinity. This screams the opposite. If I'm telling the truth, give me the fire emoji and hit the likes button. There's a couple thousand people already in just the first 5 minutes. I'm supposing there's a bunch of you got a problem with it. This is the way we likes our men's. Okay, well, if that's you, give me the drip emoji in the chat room. If you think this is not masculinity, give me the fire emoji. If you think this is, give me the water drop emoji in the chat room. Just give me the drip emoji and we'll be like, okay, I understand what's going on with you. No hate, no shade. We're just making sure about that. And hit the likes button here. Who in the world we got in the chat room? Jamila Lemieux? Something's bothering you about this? If y'all agree with what the hell I'm saying, hit the likes button for me. Don't let it wait. So they got Jonathan Majors at the beginning of his ascendancy. They didn't even come back around to get him later. They got him at the beginning. Now, there would be some people who would say, well, Jason, the thing is, you is trying to pigeonhole masculinities. The Professor Sheena Howards would be right here. Masculinity can have many different forms. There isn't anything gay about this, Jason. That's the problem. You see things through your jaundiced eyes. There isn't anything gay about this. Nothing about this at all. You just see things the wrong way. That's the problem with you. Cis, masculine, toxic troglodyte. And that is the problem, is that you don't see things the right way. That's the issue, is you don't see it correctly. Okay, all right, fine. But if that's the case, I do have one question then. If that is the case, I do have one question, because when I start seeing things like that, I start asking other questions. Like, I start seeing you keep strange company. If this really isn't about that, then someone explain to me where in the soggy sop moist hell this came from.
Oh my black baby Jesus. The Majors. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And why is what you're doing not me? I volunteer as tribute. Be with me, and most likely between those legs. Most importantly, every other man in existence is immediately trash. Garbage. Maybe recycling if they have good credit. Call me a white girl named Stephanie, because I do indeed accept this rose. Happy Monday.
Would you ever be my, would you?
What in the village people hell is going on? But it's just me, right? It's just me, right? It's just me. Then again, y'all, believe it or not, that was the nice one. You ain't seen someone else's floating around out there. Oh, my stomach is turning. Oh, ick.
Oh, my pussy.
Y'all, what has been seen cannot be unseen, unheard. Oh, boy. I feel like somebody scratched my eyeballs with a Brillo pad. Man, look here. I don't know what's going on with the new niggas, but here, that, okay. But ain't nothing moist going on, right? This is just all in my head, right? This is just all in our heads. It ain't no reality to it. This is just all in our heads, right? Yeah, this is just all going on in our heads is what's going on here. No truth to it whatsoever.
Oh my black baby Jesus. Nathan Majors, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And why is what you're doing not me? I volunteer as tribute. Be with me, and most likely between those legs. Most importantly, every other man in existence is immediately trash, garbage, maybe recycling if they have good credit. Call me a white girl named Stephanie because I do indeed accept this rose.
Nope, it's just all in our heads. It's just all in our heads. That's all it is. Just in our heads. There's no proof to it. There's no truth to it. Nothing. Nope. You're just fantasizing or hallucinating the whole thing. Basically. But there's absolutely nothing to substantiate it. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, if this is not appealing to a certain segment of the population, explain to me why they all lined up with their water bottles and baby oil. Explain to me why that's the case. Because I'm trying to figure it out. All right. But it goes a little bit deeper here. Jason, it goes deeper? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sure does. Obviously, the good folks over there at Ebony felt like they had a hit on their hands. They obviously felt like they had a hit on their hands. Because what they did, if you take a look at it, if you go by their Twitter page, you can take a look at what they did. It's gotten a couple of million views. Then you come on down here. They were so proud of themselves that they started posting, I guess, the staff that was responsible for this fiasco. This cover. And I couldn't help but notice some things. Jason, what kind of things? Couldn't help but notice. You go down the list there. Hello, Miss Corey Murray. Miss Editor of Ebony, Miss Marielle Bobo. Creative Director, the photographer, Mr. Keith Major. I'm assuming he's not related. I'm missing an S on that last name. I'm just going to assume that he is not related. But just in case, make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's. Hello, Mr. Major. All right. Ebony Magazine. Glad to see Ebony because there are no black photographers out there. Obviously. So, yeah, they did that. Stephen London. And they got some of these wrong on here, by the way, but all right. Video by Mega Media. All right. Mega Media so proud they don't want to be seen. The gaffer was Rusty Burglar. That's a hell of a name for a gaffer. You all go look up what a gaffer does. Hell of a name for a gaffer. The Swing. The Swing is Mr. It says Gabia Solo 13, but Dario Naharis. I think that's the name of one of the assassins from Game of Thrones. If I remember, Dario Naharis was one of the assassins. But anyway, let's go and take a look here at Mr. Gabe Solo. I wouldn't want to cast any aspersions, but by the way, Mr. Gabe Solo, okay. Yeah, Mr. Gabe Solo, I don't look like one of the brothers to me. So, Ebony Magazine is certainly making sure that black folk are staying employed, certainly. So, very glad Ebony could take care of that. Very glad they could see about that. The sound mixer, Mr. Jonah Miles. photo assistants, Blue Nose Delight. Blue Nose Delight is Mr. Cesar Rebeller. So this is Mr. Jonah here. Mr. Jonah here. Okay, Mr. Jonah. He's off on vacation. Good for him. Here's Mr. Blue Nose Delight, a.k.a. Cesar Rebella. Okay. So clearly, Ebony apparently was not able to find or locate suitable black talent. Digital Tech is Sherendon P. So Sherendon P. New York-based photographer by way of Trinidad and Tobago. All right. So Mr. Sherendon P. is on deck. Mr. Stylist is Alexander Julian. Now, that's not actually a link to his page there. Not actually a link there. Mr. P was certainly the guy who was responsible for these covers. Certainly the fellow responsible for these covers. So we wouldn't want him to miss out. Wouldn't want him to miss out on anything. Because otherwise he wouldn't be seen. So we don't want him to miss out. But, by the way, this is him on Instagram. Nigerian flag. He's rather proud of his work. So, good for him. He's proud of his work. Got that out of the way. So, Ebony has certainly been dotting their I's and crossing their T's as far as who is allowed in the building and what they will be doing. Because we wouldn't want anything untoward or undesired to happen, like black folk having something here. Well, how did the audience take this? How did the audience take this? If you take a look at that, how did the audience take this? Tens across the board. Yeah, some folks were like, we picking up a vibe off of it. We're picking up a vibe off of it. So, yeah. Right. Okay, so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Shanae is up there. Okay. So, needless to say, nonsense abounds. So they're rather proud of themselves over that. So, yeah, Ebony Magazine wanted to get attention for it, and they certainly did. I just don't think this is really the kind of attention that you want, because the first question I got to ask is, who is this for? Ebony Magazine is supposed to be a publication for black people about the black experience, and yet it has morphed into this really weird, really strange little niche, deviant product. It's something that you reference for the purposes of mocking, but it's not something that you go to because it reflects your desires, value, identity, experience. Who is this for? Take a look on your screens there. What part of the ebony black experience is this? Even if you are a black female, what part of your experience with men is this? And if you've had this experience with the men in your life, that might explain a whole lot about the men in your lives. But what part of the black experience is this? Is this supposed to be? Or is this supposed to represent? That's the question that I'm asking. What does it represent? I'll tell you what it represents. It represents a desperate attempt by the old dead black media to get some folks talking about them so that they can try to make a case that people actually discuss them. Because let's be very, very clear. When was the last time that we ever said anything about Ebony? It's just that irrelevant. It's just that irrelevant. They're right now just desperate to be seen. Can we be seen? Can we be heard? Y'all are still out there somewhere. Somebody is still dumping money into it, because it's certainly not because you're making any. Somebody's still dumping some money into it. And for what? For what? You know, if y'all could move any weight, you wouldn't have to do weird, wacky, bizarre, twisted stunts like this. When you gotta pull stunts like this, it's because you don't have a core audience. When you have to resort to this type of wild, shock value sensationalism, you don't have a core audience. So now you're just going for clicks and tweets because you lost your core audience a long damn time ago, and basically you're like Sears. You're this institution that had so much money put into you for so long, it's just taking an abnormally long amount of time for you to just wind down into powder, but you don't really have a core audience to appeal to anymore. Not at all. Not at all. So the dead black media is desperate for relevance, desperate for attention, desperate to acknowledge we even still here. This is how crazy it's gotten. This is how crazy it's gotten. They had an opportunity to have Jonathan Majors on their magazine, and instead of using it as a cover and a story that you could put out for the next 20 years, is one of those things you'll go back to with reverence. Instead, they squandered the opportunity to sit up here and put up garbage for the Deviant Olympics. But it does serve another purpose because, as you know, Ebony, all of your dead black media publications, Ebony, Jet, Essence, all the old fossil publications, they now kowtow to white publications, white sponsors. And those sponsors and publications, those sponsors and investors, I don't even want to say investors, but really backers, they made it very clear to them that, hey, there's a certain thing we want to see. There's a certain thing we want to see. We don't want to see masculine men. We don't want to see black families. We don't want this to reinforce that. We want your magazine to challenge that. So they put folks in charge who are here to challenge black society, and they're using what little money, what little capital, what little mass appeal and exposure they have for the purposes of attacking black society on their way into oblivion. This is how Ebony chose to go out. Ebony chose to go out like this. But the reason is because they can't move any weight. They can't move any numbers. That's the reason why. And they're far from alone. This is part of an overall agenda. It's part of an overall agenda. It's part of an overall strategy. And I've come here tonight for the purposes of threading the needle. So we're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. But when we come back, I want to show you the direct link between this particular Ebony cover, this particular one at this time, and the ongoing campaign by the dead black media and its white backers to attack black society and particularly black masculinity. You're going to want to stick around for this because nobody's talked about this. No one's put this together. No one's attached all the pieces and connected all the dots. I've done that for you tonight. So stay tuned. It will be well worth it. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. So Mr. NJ Williams, thank you very much for your support. Sir Williams, thank you. And a big shout out to Andrea Roberson there in the super chat. Thank you all for your support, especially you, Andrea. I appreciate that as always. And please keep in mind, YouTube does keep 1/3 of every dollar that you submit over super chat. I know it's really convenient over the iPhone, but consider using one of the links in the description of the video for PayPal, Cash App. I think I got a Venmo now. So definitely consider that as well, because YouTube keeps 1/3 of every dollar, but however you choose to contribute, that's up to you. Just make sure you're aware of all your options. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, the direct link between that infamous Jonathan Majors Ebony magazine cover and the campaign by the dead black media to attack black masculinity. This is The Black Channel.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm a foundational black American, and I entered the field of IT with the goal of helping the family globally. The industry's been changing, and I've learned a lot. But how did we get here? How do we navigate issues we face in the workplace? How can we get our house in order? Read The Concept and Intricacies of Being Black in IT, now on Amazon, as well as the best-selling Guide to Being Black in IT. Go to beingblackинit.com.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Natural Body Butter with skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Higher Life Recruiting and Consulting specializes in direct placement. If your company is looking to hire top talent, or you are looking to start a new career, our network of professional recruiters can help. We provide recruiting, LinkedIn lead generation, access to our professional network, paid job postings, interviewing, and more. Check out our specialized services: information technology recruiting, STEM career consulting, sales recruiting, hiring process consulting for your business, resume writing, LinkedIn profile consultation. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and get higher with us.
The 23 lines can help you find your flow. Revolutionizing healthcare to self-care. D23, making a healthier
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. As promised here, I'm going to connect the dots for you here between the now infamous Ebony magazine cover with Jonathan Majors and the rest of the dead black media. And to be clear, just a brief reminder. Yes, we got to make sure we remind them about this, folks. I'm not being salacious. I'm just saying I have to do my job here. Trust me, this is as uncomfortable for me to do as it is uncomfortable for all of you to watch. Believe me. For the folks who have tried to tell us that there's no agenda behind this and that this is just between our ears and this is just our imagination, that we see this as emasculation, I just wanted to show you some of the fans of Jonathan Majors' Ebony magazine cover shoot.
Oh my black baby Jesus. Jonathan Majors, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And why is what you're doing not me? I volunteer as tribute. Be with me, and most likely between those legs. Most importantly, every other man in existence is immediately trash, garbage, maybe recycling if they have good credit. Call me a white girl named Stephanie because I do indeed accept this rose. Happy Monday.
Would you ever be
All right, Mr. Majors and all the women who like that photo cover shoot. This is your competition making its way to his hotel room, and he ain't alone. He's got backup. Oh, this is disturbing. Oh, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Oh, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. That's for damn certain. I will not be able to sleep after seeing that. However, I did some looking into it because I wanted to see whether or not there was any type of reflection or mirroring going on out there. So I decided, why don't we go and check in with the usual suspects, and I did. And what do you know what's happening over there at The Root? Well, 13 actors who could replace Denzel Washington, who could be the next Denzel Washington. Let's be very clear, ain't gonna be another Denzel Washington. Not gonna be another one. Miss Chanel Janae. So she puts together a list, and who's first on the list now? What? Mr. Jonathan Majors, first on the list. Why would he be first on the list? But okay, now remember, this was just done yesterday. The Ebony Magazine shoot now has been about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Folks have been talking about it now for the past couple weeks. But since then, this was just published yesterday, and here comes The Root. Here comes The Root to discuss about that. So Jonathan Majors is the first one here. So, all right, we're off to a rousing start. Who's next? John Boyega, that dude. He's been solid so far. We'll see if it lasts. Daniel Kaluuya. Okay. We'll see if it lasts. Mr. Jarrell Jerome. Okay, I'm not very familiar with him, though. What does he do? This young star may be flying low under the radar right now, but don't let that make you forget that the When You See Us and Moonlight star, well, it didn't take very long to thread that needle now, did it? Direct connection between the Ebony Magazine cover shoot and the agenda. Didn't take very long for that one to happen. Now, did it? So, yeah, we back at the agenda. Back at the agenda. All right. Corey Hawkins. Not sure what he was doing. Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan is not going to be the next Denzel Washington. Michael B. Jordan is going to be the next Michael B. Jordan. He's in the field, in the league of his own. Aldous Hodge. Okay, we'll come back and check on him. Brian Tyree Henry. Okay. Leslie Odom Jr. Looks like he's been in Hamilton and One Night in Miami. I think about this movie way too often. Y'all should go check that one out and see what she's talking about too, by the way. Kelvin Harrison Jr. Now, he's wearing a jacket that looks like a stiff jaw, old square jaw. Looks like something he got from her. Kelvin Harrison Jr., what did you do here? All it took was for me to see Kelvin Harrison Jr. in waves to know we were dealing with someone special with his range of feels like Cyrano, losing blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right. Fine. We'll come back to that. Stephen James. Stephen James, what have you done? I'd be lying if I said we talk enough about If Beale Street Could Talk, star Stephen James. Because the truth is we don't. And that's a shame given what we've seen in the aforementioned film 21 Bridges and Race. Well, I mean, maybe we don't talk about the young man enough. So let's see. I got Stephen James. Well, I went looking to go see if I could find some information on Mr. Stephen James, and I kind of did. He's got a new film coming out here. And this story, I mean, he was starting the film here. He's starting the film. It's supposed to be it was a series or a film or a series. Never seen either one of them there, but couldn't help but notice. A film series about Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel Basquiat. Who is Jean-Michel Basquiat? Well, I could say many things, but I will let the Central London Community Healthcare NHS Trust tell you. This is what you get, by the way, if you go Google it. This is pretty much the only thing that comes up when you type in his name. But by the way, yeah, this February we are proud to honor LGBT plus History Month. By the way, that's an insult to Black History Month, but all right. A month-long celebration in remembrance of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender history. Okay, today we celebrate Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel Basquiat was born in Park Slope, Brooklyn, to a Haitian father and a Puerto Rican mother. His cultural heritage provided inspiration, and he would often incorporate Spanish words into his artworks. He started as a graffiti artist using the tag Samo, shorthand for same old S. He created this with high school friend Al Diaz. So, okay. Now listen to what they have done in the next paragraph here. Notice now I'm threading this needle from Ebony all the way through the rest of the dead black media. Basquiat was bisexual, and his girlfriend, Suzanne Malik, who financially supported him as a waitress during this period, later described his sexuality as, quote, non-monochromatic. What the hell? Not monochromatic. It did not rely on visual stimulation such as a pretty girl. Really? He wasn't sexually attracted to pretty things. Tell us more. It was a very rich, multi-chromatic sexuality. He was attracted to people for all different reasons. They could be boys, girls, thin, fat, pretty, ugly, and you got in bed with him, ma'am? So he would just sleep with anything. And she flopped into bed with him? Okay. It was, I think, driven by intelligence. He was attracted to intelligence more than anything, and to pain. All right, I'm smelling sexual deviance all over this, but all right. In 1982, he also dated then unknown singer Madonna. Oh, so she was dating him before she got on. He died in 1988 at 27 years old of a heroin overdose. All right. But by the way, they are celebrating LGBT History Month for Mr. Jean-Michel Basquiat. So glad we got that there. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, Mr. Kelvin Harrison. By the way, did we take a chance to go ahead and check into him too to see a couple of things? Oh, what do you know? Oh, that's interesting. Mr. Kelvin Harrison Jr., same time last year, also to star in a Basquiat biopic, Samo. Oh, well, That didn't take terribly long, now did it? What do you know? So The Root basically went down the whole list of folks associated with these LGBT movie projects and said these are going to be the next Denzel Washington. Gonna be the next Denzel Washington. Jason, you reaching. 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 Trevante Rhodes. I mean, do I really have to say much here? Trevante Rhodes has the looks, vulnerability, moonlight. So now we know what they mean by, what she means by vulnerability. This is the new, it used to be as a man talking about your feelings was being vulnerable. Moonlight, you expose more than your feelings. In Moonlight, those males were exposing more than just their feelings. So she couldn't even stop there. But it's just me, right? It's just me, right? This is just my interpretation. I'm just reaching, right? So right after you sit up here, yeah, I'm just reaching. Jason's just reaching again and again and again. I'm just reaching, right? I'm just reaching. It's just me. It ain't that serious. It's just me. I'm just reaching, right? I'm just reaching. We're just reaching. So what I wanted to show you all is that, yeah, there's a direct link between the time frames of posting this and then using that as a springboard over at the Griot to see if they can make that happen. And no, it shouldn't be any, the fact that they got pink behind him in this picture, the fact that there's pink behind him in that picture, no, it's not accidental that the Griot chose that. They were obviously playing off of the photo shoot that he had just taken. They got all that attention. All of a sudden, they want to talk about Jonathan Majors and who's going to be the next Denzel Washington. The Griot, another online dead publication, another dead brand, living off of the largesse of millionaires or billionaires, hoping that they can sell it to a greater fool at some point down the road. Not because it's actually on the rise or building anything. It just gives us material and grist for the mill to mock. It just gives us material and grist for the mill to mock. However, just in case you were saying to yourself, well, Jason, it ain't really that bad over there to you. Oh, dead black media. I mean, you making too much over here. You're making too much. Making too damn much. Okay. You could say that. But then again, oh, hot off the presses, this just in. Over there at The Root, by the way, hot off the presses, this just in. Melissa Harris Perry speaks out about The Takeaway being canceled. Calls the decision an act of abuse. Well, what in the hell is going on over there? What is the takeaway? What is that? Before we go any further here, let's go ahead and just take a quick look at this. This is Melissa Harris Perry on Twitter. The producers, editors, and directors and the team of The Takeaway deserve so much better than this. The team is exceptional. Canceling the show in this way is an act of institutional cruelty and abuse by the executives of WNYC. I will stand for them until the end. You will stand for who? Your people of WNYC. Okay. Conjunction matters, Miss Perry. Well, what is Miss Perry squealing about? Well, I'll tell you what she's upset about. From The Root by Miss Candace McDuffie. Melissa Harris Perry has taken to Twitter to express shock, disgust, and dismay that her show, The Takeaway, has been scheduled for cancellation in June. People, it's only February. It's only February. She's been scheduled for cancellation in June. 4 months from now. But she's screaming. They go on to say, It was started in 2008 as an alternative program to NPR's Morning Edition in conjunction with WNYC, which co-produces The Takeaway. It is distributed by PRX. Now, here's the next paragraph in their story. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do you all a solid. Let me go ahead and show you what it says. Now, this is directly from the website at The Root. Due to a decrease in audience and carriage, that means stations who want to carry it, the decision to get rid of it altogether was announced Friday. According to a memo that was distributed, the takeaways, quote, decline in audience, as well as the financial challenge of producing a daily show, a situation made more challenging this year by the headwinds facing many across media, has led us to this decision. So they're talking about WNYC said this. But this is what they're saying is due to a decrease in audience and carriage, there's been a, quote, decline in audience as well as the cost of producing this daily show that ain't making us any money. It's losing money because it's losing audience. No, WNYC is not going to stop broadcasting. They're going to get rid of hers and put something else on that can actually draw money. And of course, because she can't draw money, she goes complaining. A WNYC spokesperson stated that carriage had decreased by nearly 13% over the last few years. Host Melissa Harris Perry, who was named the show's permanent host in 2021 after Tanzina Vega resigned from the position, took to Twitter to share how she feels about the news. You already heard me say what she said there. In a memo sent to the staff of New York Public Radio, Senior Vice President of WNYC Studios, Kenya Young, so they send a black female out there to do the dirty work, and COO Andrew Golis confirmed that all employees of The Takeaway will receive compensation through June. There are a total of 12 full-time staffers. Quote, it is a credit to the talent and dedication of the many team members over the years that this show has been such an important part of the public radio landscape and NYPR for so long, they remarked. We especially want to thank the current production staff for their incredible work and Melissa Harris Perry for her gracious leadership of the Takeaway team since 2021. The Root has covered the devastating occurrences of black journalists, specifically black women journalists, being publicly let go from their jobs and how our community suffers when that happens. Despite the setback, we know that the future will be bright for Harris Perry. If you don't get the hell out of here, she went from MSNBC to NPR to a milk carton here. And the reason is because she couldn't draw money. She's never been able to draw money. She's never been able to build an audience, even with millions and millions of dollars behind her, even being teed up at the plate, with it being primed with an audience. She's never been able to build one. Everywhere she goes, the audience begins to nosedive. That's the old black media because they don't talk to black people. They don't talk about black society. They just talk about their little cocktail circuit sexual deviant buddies and friends who are not representative of the society at large. And then when they ultimately fail to build an audience, because that's the only thing they can do is fail to build an audience, then they go squawking and screaming and hoping that they can shame their white benefactors to giving them yet one more ride on the merry-go-round at some other diminishing in value media concern. But let's not shade a nickel here. After a decade, if Melissa Harris Perry could draw money, Melissa Harris Perry would be drawing money. Melissa Harris Perry can't hold a crowd, can't hold an audience. Please remember, people in the chat room, the whole reason that Oprah got yanked off the air is her ratings were going down. Remember, Jerry Springer was beating her in the ratings for a long while, and among others, the Judge shows in syndication. Shout out Joe Brown. So they started losing money and stopped being able to draw money, but they keep going back to that well because they are terrified of black people being empowered, but more importantly, of black masculinity. We have to attack the warrior class. So they know what will sell. They know what would get eyeballs. They know what would get an audience, but they're terrified to do that because what would gain an audience will simultaneously de-empower their white backers. So they just keep recycling these old retreads who are aging out of the game and aged out of it. And in reality, all you're trying to do, you don't have, in reality, this isn't a dead black media anymore. It's a zombie black media. This is just the zombie black media now. They were dead. Now you set up here and giving them some injection to reanimate the corpse. And it convulses and springs out of his grave and going from door to door. Yeah, Melissa Harris Perry, tune in to NPR. Let me go ahead and show you something else here. Let me show you something else. You want to talk about Melissa Harris Perry? You want to talk about Melissa Harris Perry? You want to talk about Melissa Harris Perry and her audience, or should I say lack thereof? If you want to discuss that for a moment, we can do that. We can do that. Because here was the audience. I want you to check this out. You all are learning so much tonight. You're learning how many layers it goes down below just that ebony cover. Here's the audience. You see on Twitter when she posted about her getting her show canceled. Here's her audience on Twitter. What? Shock and dismay from Miss Kim Kelly. Okay, there's Miss Kim Kelly. She's going to miss it terribly. Melissa Harris Perry. Yup. Okay. All right. Doing their best over there. Miss Ella Dawson. Oh, no. Heartbreaking. I loved listening to the show while driving back and forth to NYC. Okay, she's obviously repping for LGBT month. Got it. Miss Shonda Prescott Weinstein. She's obviously very bothered by this as well. She identifies as black, Jewish, queer, agender, woman. She tweets by/for me. Okay. She's an assistant professor of physics, astros, whatever. Miss Rainsford Stauffer. She's unhappy about it as well. Oh no, this is the worst news and a huge loss for listeners. I'm so sorry and so upset. Thank you for the amazing work you do. Uh-huh. Yeah. Miss Beth Fertig. This is very sad and a big loss for your audience. Uh-huh. Dr. LB is writing a blog. Who cares? Miss Corey Ellen. L&D, abortion, public health. Queer, Jewish, she/her, opinions, many, my own. Abortion, all in the abortion. So this is her contribution to humanity, is removing humanity. Wait, what are they thinking? This is one of the best shows on radio. Miss Erica M. Miss Erica M. Queer, mixed, black, she/her, Minneapolis, heart. Okay. We can go down the list here, but I think you all are getting the point. Not hard to figure out who her support structure is. And yeah, there's just not enough. Look, the bottom line is the reason that the old black media died and the new black media has eclipsed them, and that we are influencing national campaigns, social, political, economic justice, and empowerment, presidential campaigns. They're talking about us. They're not talking about any of them. They're discussing our agenda. Melissa Harris Perry and them have been silent and AWOL on black empowerment, reparations, or anything else of any interest to the black body politic. And now they're just sitting around begging for a gig. Jamila Lemieux begging for a gig. Jamel Hill begging for a gig. Trying to shame some white folks of the corporation to sign them up for a gig. This is what happened to them after Keith Olbermann got run out of MSNBC. This is what became of them. By the way, anybody ever heard of what happened to Goldie Taylor? Oh, wait a minute. Professor Black Truth did a video a few weeks ago about her. Yeah, she's running around still chasing a gig too. All these brain-fried, brain-screwed individuals still chasing a gig. And the gigs are dried up. You don't have a big corporate apparatus anymore that is longing to hire you. They're all over there furiously beating on the doors at MSNBC and can't get anybody to answer. They locked the doors at CNN a long time ago. When they kicked Roland Martin's ass off, that was it. They said there's room at CNN for only one nigga, Don Lemon, and that's it. Ain't gonna be nothing else, and there's been nothing but white folk there ever since. That's CNN. They haven't elevated anybody who ain't white. And you haven't been able to shame your way into getting them to do so either. Oh yeah, by the way, so is MSNBC. They're not opening up any doors over there either. They're not opening any doors either. If you don't have somebody at the White House to lean on them to let you in, and you won't be there very long. When they get done, you won't be there very long. They're going to go ahead and do some lip service. They're going to do some lip service, and that's it. That's it. So the old black media, y'all remember when we talked about this years ago with Tom Joyner? Remember they said the same thing, declining audience, and stations didn't want to carry the program anymore. That was it. They all been trying to coast on reputations that they had from decades ago. Reputations that they had from decades ago. Reputations that they had from decades ago. A name and status that they had decades ago. Nothing that they've actually got now. Y'all tell me somebody who's been on the cover of Ebony Magazine who became a star. Ebony Magazine doesn't make stars. Ebony Magazine is not the place where people go to get their names or to get their ideas about what they should be talking about. They don't go to Ebony Magazine for direction. They come here for that. They come here for that. And this is what they've chosen to do with what little resources they have left. They've chosen to squander it. And they're all sitting up in that New York and Los Angeles areas, those New York and Los Angeles areas, hoping that they can get another gig if they kiss enough ass. Little have they realized the game is already over. They're all just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic. But it isn't because they've got an exit strategy. They're just demonstrating in real time why the old black media died. And nobody missed it. They're just demonstrating it in real time. That's all. However, there might be some of you who disagree. Therefore, under those circumstances, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the black media. Very much alive, very much well, very much relevant. While the rest of these folks out here are chasing the gig, We have the backing of the people, something that they are unable to say. If they could, they would have a whole lot more going for them. But we're going to go ahead and open the phone lines for you here. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. You can go ahead and give us a call for that. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. B1 Media is a lifesaver. As always, being on deck, thank you very much for your support, brother. We appreciate that. Miss Dawson, thank you for your support as well. We're going to go ahead and take some phone calls here. Let me get caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Thomas calling from Dallas, Texas.
Thomas from Dallas, what's on your mind?
Wow. Yeah, this is if this is supposed to be the men that's going to replace Denzel Washington, man, my God, we're all in trouble. And none of these guys can stand in his shoes or his suit. Denzel Washington is a one of a kind, man. This guy.
It is
no
an
one's going to be able to
insult.
replace him.
It's an insult to mention any of these individuals in the same breath, much less the same paragraph, as Denzel Washington. That is not audacious. That's not temerity. That's just an insult. You can't mention any of them in the same sentence, much less the same page, as a Denzel Washington. Not gonna happen. But you got to bootstrap off of Denzel, because you have to remember the Root and Ebony don't have any legitimacy. So all they can really try to do is sit here and bootstrap off of the legitimacy of others. So that's why they're trying to do this desperate name dropping. They're trying to bootstrap off of something that they know we do respect. But it's not because they got a better idea.
Well, when I first seen this cover, I thought it was Lil Nas X at first. I was like, this Lil Nas? And I looked, I was like, Jonathan Majors. I said, oh wow. But they should have just put Terry Crews on the cover. You know what I mean? I mean, because the reason why he didn't knock that man's head off, because that's what he's done that to him before. And do you know Malcolm X got more followers than Melissa Harris will ever have? The Malcolm X and Khalid Muhammad and Martin Luther King will be forever respected as warriors of black men. And if this is what they trying to replace that with, no, that's not going to happen. And I tell anybody, all black men, if you have sons, protect your sons. Don't let them watch these movies, because Hollywood is trying to, like you said, the agenda is real, and we at war on all fronts from white supremacy, and this is part of their plan. So yeah, this is not going to happen. I mean, Melissa Harris Perry, I didn't even know she had a show.
No, this is philanthropy.
They don't talk to the black people.
No, you got to understand, this is philanthropy. This is philanthropy. I told you all for years now, this is an investment in white supremacy. In their minds, if you can cobble together some sort of media puppets who can at least reach 20,000, 30,000 people, and distract them, stall them, because remember, this is all really a media stalling tactic. This is really a media stalling tactic. If you can stall them around on the plantation long enough, that's an investment. So dumping money into her, dumping money into Ebony or Jet, dumping money into Jamila Lemieux, Jamel Hill, Bowling Ball Martin, that's an investment for them. It's philanthropy. In many cases, it literally could be your tax write-off. Literally. It's an investment in the future. Even if all they're doing is causing noise and confusion, that's still an investment in the future. I'll let you have the last word.
And Jason, I want to say thank you, because you know what? 10 years ago, they laughed at you. I mean, the political parties laughed at you. The old black media laughed at you, because Melissa Harris Perry sounds like Roland Martin right now. That's what she sounds like. So thank you for doing what you did 10 years ago, starting the war against the old black media, and now they don't have a pot to piss in or window to throw it out of. So be one, man. Thank you, and keep going at they next, man.
Black First, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. It was years ago when I coined the term new black media and the dead black media. And I did that for a purpose, because let you all know, the cable TV outlets are never going to declare Melissa Harris Perry a failure and a dead brand. They're never going to do that. They were never going to put that headline up there. I had to put the headline up there for you, and now I'm not saying it anymore. They're saying it. They're the ones yanking her down off of TV, off of radio. She understands this is the kiss of death. This is the kiss of death. And to this day, they still will not declare her a dead brand. No, they're just treating her like one. But Melissa is a dead brand. Tom Joyner is a dead brand. Tiffany Cross is a dead brand. Tavis Smiley is a dead brand. Tom Joyner is a dead, buried in ashes brand. Caller from area code 609, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, sir. I'm Emmanuel, and I come from Pleasantville, Atlantic City, New Jersey. I appreciate your broadcast, and I appreciate your perception. And the thing that I feel that's relevant with these old niggas that you call them is just like they have like a value to these white supremacists that is never going to change. They're always going to influence the simple-minded people to just like accept the easier route. So honestly, it's just like these old niggas is valuable because it's just like they keep putting out these images of us integrating to them, and these brands that they built up like Oprah or whatever, even though they're failing with us, they're being accepted by them and they're the majority. So honestly, at the end of the day, they're valuable because it's just like they keep promoting that integration, and simple-minded people are always going to integrate.
Yeah, I mean, they
so
need some type of speaker. They need some type of speaker. They need some type of loudspeaker. They got to have somebody to carry the message. What they've been plagued with is what we've called an incompetent operative class. Melissa Harris Perry is incompetent. She can't get the job done. Tiffany Cross is incompetent. Simone Sanders is incompetent. They can't close the deal. They can't get the job done. But they're the only tools they have because anybody else is chomping at the bit to do what we're doing. And they're like, hey, we ain't going to let that in. So once again, it's philanthropy, it's charity, it's an investment in maintaining the status quo.
How many of us are competent? I'm talking about older people because it's like a lot of younger people are competent because it's just like we want to change, and these older people failed us with that change slogan.
Well, it's not so much about the older people being
on the chart.
Well, it's not so much about the older people being competent. The real issue with the older folks is who's going to fight. Not about necessarily who's competent. It's really about who's going to stand up, because you have to understand the civil rights generation, you had some warriors in it, but the reason why things could backslide so quickly and so easily is the majority of them were just waiting to be consumers. And as soon as somebody opened the door to allow them to do that, they went into it full steam. So the real issue with the old folk is finding anybody willing to fight. We don't have elder warriors anymore. You kind of got elder consumers. And that's why I try to get the young folk away from listening to them, because these are old folks who are not going to fight. As long as they're concerned, as far as they're concerned, the police are not a problem for them because they old and helpless and they can just come rickety out of their car. It's that the police are, quote, the young folks' problem now. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. That's the way they see it for the most part, is that the police are the young folks' problem. Not our problem anymore. It's the young folks' problem. Shout out in the super chat to Ms. Santos and everybody else who has contributed to tonight's program here. Anun Clarician, thank you very much as well. Let me get caller from area code 626. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Logical Facts, Chicago. Jason Black, I want to again commend you on an excellent broadcast. One thing with this, If you really want to bring in a lot of this stuff of what you see, thank the NAACP and thank Tyler Perry. The NAACP, because gays couldn't get any traction within the white community. They were like, no, we ain't messing with you. But then they came to the NAACP, and the NAACP took them in under the protected minority status. So by us getting them in, we then had white males, and they could be white males, which of course means they're a part of the majority, but now they call themselves gay, and that makes them a minority. That is where a lot of this stuff comes from. Thank Benjamin Jealous. And then the other part, thank Tyler Perry, because I just saw some mess, and it's like he's writing, directing, and producing shows, and almost all the males are feminized or gay, or they're getting raped up by other men. This is a man that's a billionaire. He can make anything he wants, but yet he chooses to continue to feminize men.
Because that's how you get white studio money. Yeah. That's the way he needs his film. I told y'all about this 14 years ago now. If you remember with the Transformers movies, there's a direct link between, I believe if I got the studio systems correct in that regard, there's a direct link. When Tyler Perry puts out his films, they make $150 million consistently. So he puts in $25-30 million, and it consistently makes $150-200 million. And if I remember the studio system connections correctly, about that time you saw them, he made $150 million, and then they gave Michael Bay $150 million to make the Transformers movie back in 2007. So
yes,
they give you these little old pennies, so you can make 5 times the money. Then they take the money from that and then go give that to a white director. They give him the big budget. So if you're dependent on the studio and the producers to finance what you're doing, then they're going to say, okay, we'll finance it, but we want to know what it is. See, here's what a lot of folks don't understand about the movie business, for example. I'm glad you segued into this because it's a good thing to understand. Movies are not created or approved by the writers or by creative people. That is a delusion. That's a lie. That's a misconception in the public consciousness. The movies that you see that make it to the theaters, those are the products of the producer. You take a look at who is the producer of the film. Over there at Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy. Over there at Sony, remember it was Amy, what was her name? The racist chick. So you got these folks who are the studio heads and the producers. So Kevin Smith had a famous story that he told one time about, what was his name? Peters, I forget his name, John Peters, and he was running around with Pamela Anderson for a while, and he gave the famous story where we were talking about getting the movie made, and he said all the guys at the studio said, now he's gonna come to you about the spider, so get ready for that. So Kevin Smith is pitching him about this superhero movie he wants to do, and next thing you know, the guy's nodding his head, and he says, okay, but it would really be great if we put in a big mechanical spider. He's like, no, there's no spiders with Superman, and there's no spiders. So the producer of the film was like, we'll give you the money. Jughead, you're correct. Amy Pascal, we'll give you the money, but I want a big mechanical spider in the movie. Well, and Kevin Smith's like, we ain't gonna do that. I don't see it. So next thing you know, he's like, hey, you heard he's producing the Wild Wild West movie with Will Smith. So anybody who's seen Wild Wild West, he got his big mechanical spider. But that tells you the extent of the influence the producers have, whether it's Conan the Barbarian, whether it's Transformers, Marvel's movies. Marvel, those movies are the product of not of the writers or the directors, but of Kevin Feige. That's why there were a bunch of directors who didn't want to work on those movies for Marvel, because Kevin puts together the script and puts together the way the movie's going to be. How it starts. That's why they talk about the Marvel movies have a problem, because they're formulaic. They all start the same. The superhero winds up fighting a mirror version of himself, and it's basically the same thing over and over again. So that's the kind of thing that you deal with there. The producers are the ones who decide what type of movie it'll be. When these folks come to pitch to the producers about the movie they want to make, what do they want to hear? They want to hear you compare the movie to something else. So it's like, oh, well, this is like Game of Thrones. What do you see on TV now? Everybody wants to put out another, this is like Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings is going to be like Game of Thrones. The Witcher is like Game of Thrones. You see what I mean now? So the producers, it's something the producers can wrap their heads around, and then they'll be like, hey, we want to see a TV show that's like bring us our Game of Thrones. Remember, that's what Jeff Bezos said. Amazon TV needs to have its own Game of Thrones. Next thing you know, they went and paid billions of dollars, and we got the rights to Lord of the Rings, and paid billions of dollars to make a TV show that nobody watches on it. So understand where this comes from. When you see these movies, and if you're going to the studios to get the money, the producers are already like, we want to see a black gay flick. We want to see a black gang flick. We want to see a black gangster movie. They're the ones who sit there and they literally can say, this is the type of movie that we want to see, and we're not going to put any money behind anything other than that. So if you want us to pay for this, then you need to put together the kind of film that we want to see. And now you're beholden not to a writer, not to a screenwriter, not even the president of a studio, but the producers in the studio who control the purse strings and control the money. They're the ones who dictate the type of films you see. And guys like Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry have been very good at bringing the producers what they want to see.
Very true. Very true. And can I add to that? Actually, if you look at with Marvel, what they do is, or Marvel and DC, what they like to do is they like to take away the humanity of the black male actors. I just saw the thing like with Cyborg. I mean, it's like the only black male on there, but what is he? He's mostly a machine, and he's barely human. And they wanted to especially show that he had no genitalia. So, to me, it's always about emasculation. And remember, the mediums, the movies are the mediums to the masses. There are lots of people out here, and they have no problem propping up all this stuff. So that's where we have to come in, and and again, with your great broadcast, come in here and let these people know. It's like, look, you're being hoodwinked. You better wake up, because the thing is, if you don't, the next thing you know, your kids are going to be out there wearing a dress and calling themselves a female or a woman when they're actually a male. This is the kind of stuff. So I appreciate it. And again, I commend you big time. Excellent broadcast. Again, I'll land my plane there. Thank you
very much for giving us a call here tonight. It's the same thing in the music business, by the way. Anybody who's ever worked at a radio station, worked for a record label, at a record label, been an intern, it's the same thing in the music business. The radio stations, they have already decided what type of music they want to hear. It doesn't matter how well put together your album is. It doesn't matter how well produced. It doesn't matter the acoustics or anything. They've already got their own ideas about what they want to hear. And if you're not bringing them what they want to hear, it ain't going to play. If you saw my documentary film Race War, you saw my son was in there talking about the clubs in New York and the DJs in New York and how New York rappers couldn't get on because the DJs have their own ideas about what they're going to play and what it's going to be. And that Funkmaster Flex is something of an exception, but as for the others, oh no, we got our own ideas. So when Charlemagne kind of dropped the dime on Cardi B and said, the machine is behind her. You gonna hear nothing but Cardi B now because the machine is behind her. You all remember when Charlemagne said that? When Charlemagne said the machine's behind her now, that's what you're gonna hear. Doesn't matter whether you think it's great or not, the machine is behind her. They're gonna make sure you hear nothing but Cardi B now. Caller from area code 601, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Gregory, calling from Virginia.
Okay, Gregory, get off speakerphone.
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
I know you told me to call in. I said Jason was reaching. Wow. And when I said that, when I typed that in, you was making an excellent point. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. You're doing an excellent job. And as far as your research, when you were saying about people saying you reaching, I said, damn, the way Jason breaks it down and go to those people's profile, looks them up, and makes the attachment from A to Z. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. Folks, if you're being sarcastic, it might help you if you put sarcasm in there. You know, and just a thought. Caller from area code 310, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Hazel from Compton, California.
All right, Hazel from Compton, what's on your mind?
Yes, I'm one of the old black niggas. I'm 80 years old.
Oh, don't do that.
And what I wanted to say is, I thought the Ebony and Jet had gone out of business more than 30 years ago. I didn't even know they were still in business until I tuned into your program tonight. And in Compton, you can't even find Ebony on any kind of newsstand. And when I go to friends and relatives and church people's house years ago, I remember you could see Ebony laying around on coffee tables and end tables. I don't see that anymore. And about the time I thought they went out of business was also the time I stopped being interested in them because they wasn't saying anything to me. But I just discovered you the end of the 2019, and I so appreciate the information that you are giving me at my age, and I thank God for you, and I appreciate you, and continue your good work.
Well, I appreciate you being out there, Hazel and Compton. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please stay with us. Ebony really stopped being anything that you could relate to back in the 90s. I mean, that was pretty much the end of their run. With the Clinton administration, they started making this turn. And by the time you get to the 2000s and No More John Johnson, and by the time you get there and Ebony essentially becomes a publication without a purpose because it had abandoned its own audience in the futile attempt of attempting to remake and reform black society into a black body politic that doesn't have any agenda of its own. As a consumer base, but not a body politic. Let's be very clear. They see black society now as a consumer base and a market, but not a core audience and a black body politic. As a matter of fact, Ebony and Jet and Essence and BET, now all white owned, you understand, but they are now hostile towards their historic core audience, which is why they no longer have a historic core audience. Let's be clear about this, folks. BET used to be the thing. BET used to be the thing. Y'all remember that used to be an event. For those of us back in the 90s and the very early 2000s, the BET Awards used to be it. We didn't give a damn about no Grammy. We wasn't studying no Grammy. It was about a BET Award. That's where the audience was. The Grammys were on life support. BET was where the audience was. And you wanted to get a BET award because that's where the audience was. Wasn't nobody watching MTV. MTV had to wait for BET to make things hot. The audience was on BET. And I'm not just talking about the shows like Rap City and 106 in Park. I'm talking about the BET Awards. It firmly had its finger on the pulse of black society. So everybody wanted to be a part of that. Now BET has more money and more backing behind it than ever because of Viacom, and it's more irrelevant than it's ever been. Who in the hell got best artist or best album or whatever at the awards? Folks, we can't even be upset because most of us can't even tell you who was there. Fat Joe was hosting. I remember that part because I did a program about it. And I literally can't tell you what happened after that. We know somebody was there. I assume because they had an award show, I'm assuming they gave out an award. I'm assuming they did. I could be wrong. They might have just sat up there and shook their asses and gave no awards. Who knows? But assuming they actually did give out an award, I can't tell you who got one, and most of y'all can't say who it was either. That's how relevant the BET Awards are now. That's how relevant it is. The game is over for them. Viacom is just dumping money into BET now, attempting to use black people as a core audience and to, quote, expand the brand, turning into a general hip-hop brand, and it ain't working. Now all they're doing is throwing good money after bad and turning all the bad money is coming out bad money in the wash. So this is everywhere. This is everywhere. These folks are losing hundreds of millions of dollars trying to create a phony black customer base that doesn't exist and will not. But they got the money to burn, so let it burn. Let me get called from area code 929. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Daryl from Chicago.
Daryl from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Well, good evening, Jason. It's excellent broadcast is always. And last night was a nice one. Tonight's a nice broadcast as well. And you're absolutely right. They're throwing this money in there. They're trying to. It's like a mistake of trying to say even put anything with Denzel or even close to that. That's like outrageous. And then the other part too is the black media. I remember as a kid, my dad had Tom Joyner on his radio in the car, and he just got tired of listening to him back then. But again, that black media has been dead for a long period of time.
Well, back in the 90s, Tom Joyner had a shot. Back in the 90s, he was coming out of the 80s. You know, he was the fly jock. For those of us who lived in Dallas at that time, we were aware that he used to come like flying into town and go fly and go do an afternoon show. Okay, cool. Yeah. Tom Joyner had a shot there for a while, and during the 90s when talk radio blew up and black talk radio was benefiting as a result, Tom Joyner became the name in black radio. So in syndicated black radio, he really was, and that's why all your local radio affiliates and what started picking up things like Big Boy and some of these other people. But there was a problem. And the problem that we started to notice is that Tom Joyner would mix in discussing black issues with the Democrats as if they were synonymous. Now, that was the problem. He started discussing the Democratic Party and black people as if they were one and the same. So that's what the old dead black media did. Now, Tom Joyner, his chief concern was getting partnerships and sponsorships. Boy, he must have lost his damn mind when he got that Walmart sponsorship. I'll remember that one. I remember when he finally, after all that begging and pleading and complaining, landed that Walmart sponsorship. He was like, I have arrived. We done hit the big time. But Tom made it very clear that he had a real opportunity to create something of lasting significance, and instead he sold it out for personal benefit and then he went to work to convert or deliver the black audience to the Democrat Party. Yes. So if those of you who are younger want to remember what really went wrong and why is it that never really worked out for us, that's because he blew up. He had an opportunity to really do something significant and instead sold out his integrity, what Lily had. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Big shout out here to Mr. Curly, Snaps, and Zachariah for contributing to tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, and Super Chat. Let me get caller from area code 804. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Reginald, Doswell, Virginia.
All right, Reginald, what's on your mind?
Well, can someone tell me exactly who keeps advising these black males to put skirts on and things like that? And what exactly are they trying to get to? I understand the indoctrination piece, but maybe we should ask the millennials, is that something that you want to see? Does the younger generation want to see buff men in fucking skirts? Is it something sexy for women to watch? I'm trying to figure this bullshit out.
Okay, well, first start from the beginning, though. 80% of your black children have been raised by single mothers. So who is defining masculinity. Because I'm thinking about this for a moment here. When I'm sitting up here watching Jonathan Majors, and I'm like, first thing I'm thinking is, okay, back in the day with Keith Sweat, we wasn't doing this. We wasn't doing this in the days of Keith Sweat. The women are sitting up there in the comment section. I'm like, wait a minute. This is not the get down. This is not what we do. Carl Weathers, this is not what we do. We've never done this. No. So what you're getting is this fusion of feminization because masculinity is scary, or at least they want you to be afraid of it. So on the one hand, you're afraid of it, but on the other hand, if they don't come to your rescue, you're complaining because they ain't acting masculine. So you're dealing with a schizophrenic position.
Yeah, it's clearly a schizophrenic position. It's clearly a confused position, and I don't quite understand. Well, even the youngsters that I speak to, they're confused about it too. They don't quite understand it either. With this whole idea that okay, a female can have a penis too, or whatever else they got going on. No, they're confused about it too, but they ride along with it. Well, for some strange reason,
because
and then
you didn't used to have that on TV. On TV and radio, there wasn't confusion there before either. So this is the result of a 45-year campaign to confuse the society. I'm sorry, 45-year campaign not to confuse the society, because it's not about confusion. It's about indoctrination. Let me break down your defenses.
Yeah,
let me get you to just not object to it. And if I can get you to that point, that's all I'm really looking for. And from there, then we can just start picking people off easy.
They should unequivocally reject this culture that's being foisted upon them. Unequivocally reject it. Look, we have enough problems in black society between black males and females than to do this sort of ridiculous shit.
I agree. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Yeah, y'all, Barry White and Keith Sweat and hell, you didn't see Michael Jackson doing nothing like this. Come on now. What in the world? These are your big, buff, masculine men, so you supposed to sit up here and be a masculine man. Pass me the pink and paisley. What the hell was the use of picking up the weights? Caller from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Jared from Houston, Texas.
Jared from Houston. What's on your mind?
Look, let me say this, man, because I'm on the tail end of the millennials, and I can say that this right here, this representation that we see coming out of Ebony or whatever the name of the thing is, it's actually an embarrassment. I was actually very surprised by seeing him in that statue or that freaking the poses that he was putting himself in. I was very embarrassed by seeing that. I was very shocked too at the same time, because I'm like, dude, why are you even doing this? I understand that you have to perform because you're like one of the hottest guys in the market right now, but at the same time, you're performing for an audience that you don't need to perform for, because the LGBTQ isn't your market. Your market value is based on your performance, not on your sexual orientation.
Well, think about this for a few moments, though. Where did Jonathan come from? Like, no, seriously. What was Jonathan starring in? I think he's from Texas. What was he starring in 5 years ago?
I have no idea.
Okay. Denzel Washington came up through the black theaters. We know where Denzel came from. James Earl Jones, we know where he came from. Jonathan has kind of been airdropped into us. The dudes in Moonlight kind of airdropped into us. Next thing you know, when you got this great big push out of nowhere, it's like, you know what? Is the machine behind you? And then you need to ask yourself the next question. Do you really know these people? Do we really know these people? And the truth of the matter is you don't. We don't know them. These Trojan horses, Barack Obama and the rest of we don't know these people. So we have to start leveling with ourselves and be on guard. It's like, hey, who brought you? Whose man is this? Who brought him? What's his agenda? What does he stand for, if anything? You start seeing it. You're starting to notice a thing now. They're just airdropping people in. Here's your new star. Hey, don't ask any questions. Hey, he's going to be in the Marvel movie. He's going to be on the HBO show. Don't ask any questions. Hey, he came with Issa Rae. Don't ask any questions. We need to start asking questions.
You're absolutely right. Let me say this one more thing, because you just brought up HBO, and I think that's very important that we bring up HBO. And I want to say this, HBO, I looked at it because I'm very into comedy. Every comedian that HBO is pushing, they have to be pro-LGBTQ. They're not funny. Jared Carmichael, he comes to my front of my mind right now. The dude is not funny. He's no Dave Chappelle. He's no Chris Rock. He's absolutely trash, but they promote him without any thought. It's just promote. And he's a terrible comedian. I don't understand what people see in him. But it's HBO. They just promote the guy. What's up with that?
I mean, they're letting you know, hey, this is the guy we're going back. You have to remember, just to be on the promotion for HBO is hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in cost to HBO. So if they show you the machine is behind you, particularly where black people are concerned, because they consider us to be a demographic. So, yeah, if they're showing them and they keep bringing out Issa Rae, oh, okay, the machine is behind you. The agenda is behind you. This isn't a television show. This is part of the corporate media agenda. That's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 412. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. My name is Robert. I'm calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Robert from Pittsburgh, what's on your mind?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut the read. I was just trying to be brief.
What's on your mind, Robert?
Jason, your show, your broadcast, of course, is always at the top. A long time ago, Vicki Dillard brought up a Kenya situation where it was showing how they can emasculate young black warriors, and they practice on bulls. And the ultimate agenda is emasculating the warrior class and even the baby producing class, because this is genocide. I mean, I wish that I would like to see these black men stop wearing these earrings. You're not cute. You look at the football players, all the brothers have earrings on, but the white guys don't. So, they're making you look like very effeminate. We have to be more conscious and get back to the level that we were at and produce those heavyweight champions again. Produce all those athletic black men. And, Jason, I'm glad that you're bringing this up right now. But the whole thing is genocide. Thank you so much for your broadcast.
Thank you very much for giving this call here tonight. Look, what this really does is it reminds us that we have to make these decisions from the top down. We have to make these decisions from the top down. We cannot allow, from the ground up. You cannot allow these decisions to be made from the top down. You can't allow these decisions to be made by the power structure. We, the people, the soil, has to make these decisions. We have to decide what's for us and what isn't. The soil has to make these decisions. But we simply cannot allow this to be a top-down decision, because this is what you end up with when you allow the decisions to come from the top down. We have to make sure that we speak on that. Now, I get it. Let me be very, very clear. I get it. In media, you want to do things to, quote, get attention. I get it. That's not lost on me. That's that they do stuff just so they can get hits, get clicks, get some sort of exposure. Hey, they're talking about us. We must be winning because they're talking about us. But I submit to you here, I'm talking about this because I want us to be aware. If we don't continuously keep a spotlight on this so this stays in its proper context, these folks will jump up out of nowhere, and then next thing you know, they're telling you what's hot. Right now, we're making it very clear they're telling you what's lame. We want to keep it like that. We want to keep it like that. We want to keep it like that. That's important. We want to make sure that once they go down, they stay down. we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for you all here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m. Gentrified Race War, all available on DVD, streaming, and Amazon. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is Black Channel Films. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, or Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support, as well as on Venmo. And thank you all for tuning in here tonight, liking the program, sharing the program, subscribe to the program. We are the Black Media, and tonight you have seen why we are the Black Media, and Ebony, Jet, Essence, and the rest of them are the dead Black Media. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is alive.